My name is Pete, and welcome to my garage. All right, we got genuine Honda parts. Couldn't even find any of these things aftermarket yet because this is such a new concern, new problem. You gotta go to Honda, and you don't buy them individually. They come as a whole set of injectors. These are a little more high-tech than your typical port fuel injection injectors. Now, we've also got these little insulators here. They do everything to try to dampen these noises so customers don't have concerns of ticking noises and stuff, because these injectors are a little bit louder, just by design. Make sure those go on all the way, and they're actually little spring clips, so when you bolt the fuel rail down, it pushes these springs down so it keeps them pushed into the cylinder. Let me try one that I can actually see in there. Okay, that goes in. You just gotta make sure you get it nice and centered. It should drop in. Make sure I plug it in. Now I gotta do the rest of them. That one is good to go. Now we got to get this other bank that we can't see. So now I'm going to blow out this fuel rail, both of them, make sure that they're clear. I think I've read online that some people they got fuel injectors and fuel rails. Now I don't know if they're talking about this fuel rail, because on a lot of direct injected vehicles, they say to replace these pipes because they get a little bit of wear in there, and with the high pressure, it's hard to ever get them back in the exact same spot. So, however, one of the dealerships I talked to, the parts people said that they never replace that pipe. So, maybe it's just a GM thing. I don't know. I'll take their word for it. Okay. I think we're ready there. Okay, that set down on those injectors very nicely. Slid right down. See this one. Okay, we can get those started, or we'll get all the bolts started and then use the nuts to snug it down, and then we'll snug the bolts down after that. But you got to be really careful. Do not drop anything down the intake ports. Now all my bolts are started. I didn't want to tighten the nuts down all the way until all the bolts were at least started, because if the nuts tighten down and the bolt hole's not quite lined up, never going to get the bolt in. we're going to get this fuel line back on. Remember, this went in between the two lines. This slid behind here. Just got to remember where everything goes. Just get each one of these started a little bit. Now at least line everything up. If everything's lined up, everything should go back in pretty smoothly. Alright, right now I'm just getting the bolts started, so I make sure they go in nice and easy. Okay. Just got to make sure I tighten it all by hand to start off. I want this thing perfectly centered back in the same spot that it was. Everything's going nice and smooth. Okay, that's tight. That's tight. It's tight. Definitely don't want these leaking and spraying fuel everywhere. Alright. That's on there. We should be good as far as our fuel injection system. And I'm also going to clean out this throttle body a little bit real quick. Alright, hot tip for you. Alright, anytime you have an electronic throttle body with no throttle cable and you're doing work to the car, clean that throttle. That's what controls your idle. This throttle body controls your idle, and if it's dirty, that can cause problems with your idle, either low idle or erratic idle, something like that. You can see how much carbon gets on this thing, and this thing's barely even open at idle, so if it's dirty at all, you're gonna have problems. So at the dealerships, when they sell you that, induction service clean and everything, that is not just, it's not just to take your money. This is really a thing that you have to do on these. Not to mention, on direct injected vehicles, it's pretty important because you don't have fuel washing the back of the intake valves. So the intake valves get pretty nasty. Lots of carbon. Okay. It's fairly clean. We're good. Give one more squirt for good measure. Alright, we got to get our fuel rail cover on. These gaskets are pretty much reusable. I'm not too worried about that. We'll get our fuel pump shield on here. See if I can figure out how it goes. Okay. Time for Old Faithful, 10 on a stick. Make sure that gasket's still right there. It's a metal gasket, so it's pretty much reusable too, I guess. Set that down. Nuts and bolts. I'm going to clean up this surface here. There's no little fuzzies in there, although they'll just probably get burnt pretty quick. But okay. Now we're ready for our upper intake. I guess if you really want to, you get new seals there, but these aren't exactly compressed or whatever. It's not like they've got a bunch of miles on it. I mean, 50,000 miles is nothing nowadays. This car's still brand new. Okay, this is the fun part, trying to get, although with the throttle body removed, man, it's so much easier to get back there on that bottom bolt. Should have taken the throttle body off from the very beginning. Man, that should have worked for Honda. These things are super easy to work on. Now I got to get the throttle body back on. These plastic intakes are so nice just because there's no coolant going through them. I mean, they don't seal to anything but air. Nice and easy. That's good. Now I just got to tighten down my bolts for my intake. Okay, that's good. Let's get my brake booster hose back there. Don't forget that one, or else then you're in trouble and don't have any power brakes and you have a giant vacuum leak. All right, our map sensor. Can't forget that. It's got some tiny little wires on it. Be careful there. All I got left is my intake boot, and should be good here. And make sure we tighten that clamp up right there. Okay, this thing might run a little bit rough at first just because there's nothing but air in the fuel rails and everything, and we clean the throttle body. We might have to disconnect the battery to kind of reset some of the learned values that it has, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Other than that cover over there, we're done. Let's start it up and let's see how it goes. All right, now I just got to clear the codes and we should be good to go. So even if your vehicle is only a couple of years old, you can still have problems with this direct injection system. They're really good for fuel mileage and torque and emissions and stuff, but it does have its drawbacks, and carbon is one of the bad things about direct injection. In the future, I think we'll get better at the technology, and Honda really hasn't had it for that long compared to other manufacturers. So we'll just see where it goes, and hopefully if you have this problem, you can fix it yourself for about half the cost. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comment section, or if you have any tips, because I'm not a Honda technician, I just go with it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Until next time, this has been Pete's Garage. Come on back and see me.